Hey Micah, how's it going?
Hey, good. How about you?
Good. What have you made of the defensive performance over the two preseason games?
Yeah, pretty good. I think I think playing in these past two games have been good for us, just seeing where we're at, getting a feel for the things we need to get corrected, the things we're doing well, just building on top of that. But yeah, it's been good to see us on film, and obviously we're still working to get better and prepare for game one.
Patty Trina.
Hey, Micah, how are you?
Hey, good. How about you?
Good, thank you. Micah, can you talk a little bit about the process that a run defense goes in terms of gelling together? Is that generally something that takes a little longer in your estimation as opposed to a pass rush, or is there really no difference?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think run defense takes everybody, and I think it's a holistic approach and making sure everybody's doing their job. When one guy doesn't have his hat in the right place, it can be the difference between an explosive run and something that can be at the line of scrimmage. So I think it's just making sure we're all honed in on exactly where we need to be, the fits, the communication behind it all, and yeah, just taking control of our 111th. I think that goes a long way.
And is the same, can you say the same thing about, the pass rush, or is that, more of a, outside box type of thing?
Um, yeah, I mean, it is a little bit different. Like, obviously, we got to stop the run in order to get to those passing situations where those guys can go hunt. But kind of adversely to what I said before, in the pass rush, if one guy wins, it can be a sack. So not everybody has to be exactly where they need to be. But if one guy goes and makes a play, it can be beneficial for all of us. But yeah, I think that's pass rush is just more instinctual, playing fast, and those guys go and doing what they do. But obviously, we got to get into that situation first by stopping the run.
Thanks, Micah.
Hmm.
Jordan Renan.
Hey, Michael, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Jordan?
Not much. Uh, with that run defense, obviously a lot of attention is paid to your pass rush, but perhaps the run defense was maybe the area that probably maybe needed the most improvement this season. How much is that brought up between with you guys that hey, in order for that pass rush to thrive, we have to be good on the run defensive side first.
Yeah, it's brought up a lot. I mean, I think our first goal is first and second down, and being great there, getting the offense in the red where we can dial things up, we can go play fast, we can do our thing on the back end, play with good depth, get underneath the intermediate routes, and then let those guys eat up front. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely an important focus for us. I think last year we lacked a little bit in that run defense, and it's something we want to be great at. Something we want to hold a high standard to, and I think we're doing a good job holding everybody to that. But obviously, there's a lot of room for improvement there.
Is it when you bring up a hey, everybody has to do their part. It can't just be one guy. It's as a unit. Is that what you guys saw when you went back and looked at last season? That it was just one guy that was off, or guys kind of freelancing and not doing it as a unit?
Yeah, I mean a little bit, and I think with that too, there's some plays in there where three or four guys are wrong, and that's when it gets really bad, right? Like when three guys aren't doing their job, and it creates an explosive, and then on top of that, we have a missed tackle, and the run can go for 30 or 40. I think another big thing in that is if they do get through the line of scrimmage, making sure we get them down for 10 or 12, and those long runs don't turn into longer runs. We can limit the explosive there. So. Yeah, I think it's been a main focus for us, and just tying everybody in together with it's the important part.
Rock.
I have two quick ones, Micah. The first is just what do you guys on defense make of Jaxson? You get to see him in practice, and then you get to watch him in the preseason games. What do you like about watching him? What does he bring to I guess the defense conversation?
Yeah, I mean he fits our style as a team. He's a dog. He plays physical when he wants to, and right now he's making a lot of great reads, doing his thing out there. He fits in well with our scheme, so it's been exciting to see him grow. Obviously, he's learning under two really good quarterbacks with Russ and Jameis back there, and even DeVito just being in the scheme for so long. Those guys help him a lot. But yeah, he's improving every week, and we see it in practice and in the games as well. So it's been cool to see it translate over.
And then just as far as your room goes, you and Bobby and Darius even are second year in this system, right? So how much more comfortable are you now, you think, than you were maybe even towards the end of last year.
Yeah, I think a lot more comfortable. I think, year one in a scheme, you're trying to figure it out during this time in camp, putting all the pieces together, still fine tuning some things. But, going into year two, we're comfortable. We kind of know, the entire scheme already, and then we go into OTAs and go through that first, phase of install and all that. And, at this point, we put everything in 3 or 4 times and just tightening those screws. Like I was talking about earlier with the run game, making sure we're all honed in. We know exactly where we need to fit. But, yeah, a lot more comfortable going into year two in this game for sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take one more. Art Stapleton.
Hey, Micah, how's it going, man?
Good. How about you, Art?
Good. Everybody always talks going into preseason games. Are the starters going to play? Are they not going to play? And then you talk to guys. I mean, as much as you guys have played the first 2 games, it's nice to finally go out there and tackle people and hit people, bring them to the ground. I'm curious, do you feel any differently after the first 2 games as a defense, more confident that you're closer to where you want to be in week 1 because you've had that experience of being out there and having those live reps?
Yeah, I think it's been good for us. There's a lot of things that show up in the first few weeks of the regular season that just have to do with technique and fundamental, and tackling is a big part of that. I think getting these opportunities just to play in these first 2 games and feel the full speed of the game, feel the physicality of it, and tackling, bringing guys to the ground. Obviously, we don't get to do that during practice, but yeah, I think it's important to get these reps, during preseason so we can go into the regular season ready for it.
What's it been like for you to get these last 2 weeks of game action and finally kind of get a taste of NFL O-line play?
It's been great. It's great to just be able to play football again. It's been fun to be able to play against somebody in a different colored jersey. So it's been great for sure.
What have you learned about kind of where your game is at just after kind of going back and watching the tape on these games?
A lot of things to learn still, of course. I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement in the consistency area. Just keep stringing things together, with my footwork and my hands. But I feel like there's a lot of place to go. Good start so far.
Thank you.
Jordan Renan.
Hey, Marcus, what's going on, man?
What's going on?
What have you made of the opportunity, of slowly sort of working your way up the depth chart, even playing some left tackle there the other night?
I mean, I just go out there and try and be the best version of myself each day. Not really, paying attention to where I'm at. I just want to be the best football player that I can. So just doing what I can each day to get better and whatever comes with it.
When Charlotte kind of asked you to evaluate yourself, you kind of mentioned what you thought you had to work on. What do you look at and think you're doing well when you went and looked at the tape, really, from the preseason and joint practices and training camp?
I mean, getting the job done first is the most important thing. Make sure you're blocking your assignment and blocking it well. I'd say that has been a good start for me as well. But there's things like technique wise that I like to clean up and just staying consistent throughout the game.
Dan Duggan.
Hey, Marcus. Just curious what it's like, not just adjusting to the NFL, but having to play both sides. 'Cause correct me if I'm wrong, you mostly played right tackle in college, right? The last
Yep.
couple of years, at least. So what's that like been getting that work on the left side lately?
It's cool. It's nice, being able to go from both sides, left to right, without too much of a hiccup. But I think it's a good opportunity for me to be able to showcase my ability and be able to get working both positions. The more you can do is better.
You make it sound kind of easy, but guys, usually say it's a pretty drastic change, though, right? I mean, like, how have you been able to perform just as well on both sides?
Just being able to trust myself, trust my technique, trust my ability, stick to the fundamentals, and not try to get too crazy with things. I try not to think of it too much as a challenge or how hard it is, and just play football. You know what I mean?
And last one, obviously Drew hasn't been on the field, so you've been able to maybe learn from that way. But just having a guy who's been as productive as he's been in the league, how has he been able to help you? Because again, it's not like he can do it on the field, but maybe in the meeting rooms or behind the scenes.
Yeah, I love getting advice from Drew. I mean, he's a fantastic football player. Anytime I have the chance to ask him about what he's seeing or what he's seen on film or what he saw at practice that day, I do, because I respect his game and I respect his opinion. So yeah, I'm always picking his brain.
Gotcha. Thanks.
No problem.
Patty Trina.
Hey, Marcus, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Just to follow up on that last question, what's something that Drew has told you that you was kind of like an aha moment for you?
I'd say there's just been a lot of small things here and there when it comes to technique, like when it comes to my pass set or my hands or my placement of my hands. I'd say one of the biggest things is like telling me to slow down, not trying to always snap out of my stance, be so explosive out of it. Play at your tempo. You don't always have to try and be the fastest out there.
And some people say that, for a young offensive lineman in a rookie season, that power can be more overpowering and speed could be more overpowering. What have you found to be, the toughest challenge for yourself, power or speed?
Between the two, I'd probably say power.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any particular reason why, technique or moves that guys have put on you?
Uh, I mean, I'd just say that's harder to deal with than speed. Coming, growing up playing basketball, I feel like I have a better chance of mirroring somebody. But, but yeah, I'd say power for sure is the harder one to deal with.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Jordan Renan.
Hey, Marcus. You kind of came in with Jaxson. He's part of that rookie group of yours. I would think you have a good feel for him. You've spent a lot of time with him in practice. What's he like? How would you describe his personality and sort of his voice in the huddle?
He's confident in the huddle. I know there's a lot going on back there, for the quarterbacks and whatnot, and I feel like he's done a great job of staying cool, staying composed, and leading the offense when he does. He's a funny guy. He's great to be around. He's a good person, so I'm glad he's on our team.
How does he maybe compare, like with his personality and the way he handles it compared to some of the other quarterbacks?
I'd say, I mean, he's, a younger guy, so he's, funnier at times. So like there's the older guys are maybe more mature at times, but Jaxson is funny, I could say the same thing for myself. Rookies are rookies, but there's veterans in the room and you can tell the difference sometimes as to how, you know, each one carries himself, but I think Jackson's a great guy to be around.
Appreciate it, man.
Last one, Charlotte Carroll.
Just wanted to follow up on that. What was he like when you guys are running that up tempo no huddle on Saturday? I guess how he's handling that and commanding. I think you mentioned he was calm, but what he's like in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I love playing with Jaxson. He takes command, kind of like I said earlier. He knows what he's doing. He gets everybody where they're supposed to be, and he gets the job done. So it's great being able to play with quarterback like that and come in at the same time. We're close, so it's awesome.